less tchotchkes.
Yeah, gadgets and gizmos aplenty.
Yeah, I got who's it's and what's it galore in my place. And
Hello, good morning.
oh, good morning, BBs. It's too early.
It sure is.
Welcome to the first, best, and only morning show in existence. I'm Anthony Carboni.
And I'm Saige Ryan. So we can't just sigh at the beginning of every show.
I do, though. That's my trademark.
That's your trademark? We have a whole thing that we do.
That's my catchphrase.
We have a catchphrase at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, then it leads.
It ends in a...
It ends in a sigh. It ends in a sigh.
I don't know. I feel like people should get some excitement when they come to the show.
Excitement.
Okay, all right.
Starting strong.
I love that. More like side duck. Please let me show you this side duck. That's it. I just really want to show you the side
okay.
duck.
Yeah, show me a side duck.
Alex, will you show my screen? Will you please show them this side duck? 31-inch side duck, Anthony. Stands
Whoa.
up all on his own. Has a headache. And hey, buddy, me too. Look how big this side duck is.
That's a pretty big side duck.
Look at the size of this side duck.
That's a life-size side duck.
Yeah, that's a buddy. That's a friend. That's a little man.
Yeah.
31 inches tall.
That's like if you had a side duck and it came to life. If it was like a Tyra Banks but side duck situation.
Exactly, life size.
Yeah.
$325 from the Pokemon Center.
I mean, that's a little over $10 an inch. How do you feel about it? Go ahead and respond to how you feel about something being over $10 an inch.
A little much. No, not worth it.
Yeah, I feel that. You already have one, don't you? A life-size Pokemon?
I have a big Mimikyu.
Right.
But not that big.
No.
I got the Target Mimikyu.
How big is it? What is that? That's like an 18-inch?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably about that. I can look it up. Target Mimikyu. But he has like the hard base.
Yeah.
And the rest is plush, so he stands up.
My buddy's got the full-size Snorlax.
Ooh.
And she's also one of those people that, for some reason, moves every year to 2 years, like you.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
And every time she's like, I've got to move a life-size Snorlax. I was like, you don't have to. This is the life you chose. Nobody's forcing you to move the Snorlax.
I think you gotta just end up where you end up in life. And sometimes you end up with the life-size Snorlax. I looked up the Target Mimikyu. It's 24 inches.
24 inches.
Also a pretty big guy.
I feel like that's a life-size Mimikyu.
That was only $50.
No, a Pikachu is like 3 feet, right? 2 feet? No, a Pikachu is like 18 inches because it hangs out on a 10-year-old's shoulders.
Yeah. I would assume there's some size variation.
Yeah, so that's probably a life-size Mimikyu.
Probably, and that was only $50. As opposed to $325.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
Is the other one like one of the official Pokemon Center ones from Japan? Yeah. They're usually made like really well.
I know.
They're usually like incredibly well made.
All you're doing is making me want to spend $325 on my boy.
I mean, look, if I didn't buy a Snorlax bed when the Snorlax bed was available, I'm certainly not buying any other things that they have.
Really?
Although
nothing ever?
I do every once in a while check on the current going eBay price for the Salaryman Pikachu. I'm a bit bummed about missing out on the Salaryman Pikachu.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a real good one.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I don't know. But you know, I'm trying to buy less doodads, less knickknacks.
Okay, that's smart. You got
less tchotchkes.
Yeah, gadgets and gizmos aplenty.
Yeah, I got who's it's and what's it galore in my place, and I've been trying to clear it out of just all the clutter, you know. But I just keep acquiring more clutter. That's the issue. Yeah.
So my cycle right now as somebody who just moved is I got rid of a lot of things right before I moved, which made room for all my new things. So that's kind of my cycle as someone who also moves every 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
I get rid of a bunch of things when I move and get a bunch of new things. So it doesn't really effectively declutter.
No, but I think it's good because
new clutters.
What happens when you don't declutter, but you also don't get new stuff. I mean, that's how you wind up walking into somebody's house and you're like, oh, it's 1998 in here forever, isn't it, Mom?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's you froze in a specific year.
Yeah.
I always wondered when I looked at adults when I was a kid how that happened.
Right.
And
what
now,
the point is.
And now I knew. Now I know. It's like I don't want any more stuff.
Yeah.
I'm through with stuff, but I don't want to get rid of my stuff because it's important to me.
Okay.
And then you just look around and all of a sudden your apartment is a retro themed diner.
Yeah. I feel like your apartment is a little time capsule-y from like a very specific point in like nerd culture.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to put a finger on when it is, but I want to say it's like 2014 to 2016.
Yeah, that
Would
makes
probably
sense.
be when you were acquiring the most knickknacks, would be my guess.
2014 to 2016, probably. That's when I was making some good money.
Yeah.
And I was like not in debt for the first time.
Right. You were buying a lot of stuff.
And so I was buying myself some things. And then
Yeah.
also 2014 to 2016, I was doing a lot more hosting stuff.
Yeah.
And so people were sending me a lot more knickknacks. And now I don't put myself on as many mailing lists for stuff like
Right,
that.
yeah.
Because people would send me things and I'd just be like, well, now I can't throw this away.
Yeah.
Because it was sent to me by
Yeah.
somebody and now I have it forever.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
You know?
Hey, Alex, were you able to find the height of a Mimikyu? And good morning, Alex.
Good morning. Hello. I found the height of a Mimikyu on Amazon.
Not the realistic real world height of a Mimikyu.
No, not the
Interesting.
the height of a real.
Interesting.
It's
The
8
Pokemon
inches
Company doesn't want us to know.
Tall. 8 inches tall. It's a very tiny little guy. Apparently.
Wait,
the
Mimikyu
real
is-
height of a Mimikyu is
Mimikyu
8
is
inches tall.
8 inches tall?
Yeah.
That can't be right.
Well, it says the Pokemon hides under tattered cloak is shaped like Pikachu, so I'm guessing it's Pikachu's 8 inches tall.
Yeah, if you Google it, it does say Mimikyu is a small Pokemon
Yeah.
standing 8 inches tall.
You have a larger than life size Mimikyu. You have a Gigantamax Mimikyu.
Huge Mimikyu.
Oh, he's just a little guy.
Who knows what he looks like under there?
Now, somebody is talking on Reddit saying that they're not sure if it's 8 inches
Without the cover.
right to his actual head or if that's the peak of the costume.
Or maybe it's the size of the amorphous thing underneath the costume.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, the top of his head, but I guess it's amorphous.
What if it's like a Disney mascot, one of those Disney characters, and the eyes are actually like somewhere way down? Like when you see Beast walking around,
Yeah.
and it's actually just some poor 5'4" person in there,
Yeah.
who has to have like an entire 80-pound head on
Yeah.
their head.
Bria and I went to Disneyland together not too long ago, and as people who both grew up in Orange County, kind of close to Disneyland, she was like, how many times do you consider seeing if you could get a Disney princess role? And I was like, a lot, but I was too short. And she goes, yeah, I was too tall.
You would have been a Winnie the Pooh.
Damn.
You
That's
would have been
brutal. That
You would have
might
been
be
a Winnie the Pooh.
That might be the meanest thing anyone's ever said to
I'm
me in
sorry.
my whole life.
You would have been Winnie the Pooh, Minnie Mouse, and potentially an Ariel when they did the half Ariel in the grotto.
Hey, you couldn't have started with the other two? You had to open with Winnie the Pooh?
Well, the reason I opened with Winnie the Pooh is my friend who was the same height as you, who did all this stuff. Her main character was Winnie the Pooh, but she did all three of those.
Yeah.
And so I always thought of it as like Winnie the Pooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome. You think of my height as Winnie the Pooh. That's so cool.
I tried to go as somebody
half
who,
Ariel.
Yeah, you're a half Ariel. I tried. I think I told you the only job really to get in Orlando is you got to work for Disney in some capacity, and it's the only union acting gig really in Orlando. You can get into like the stage actors union, and so I went. They had this whole thing where they would bus kids from high schools to audition for Disney jobs, character jobs, and I went. I took the bus to the Disney job, and I was like, wait a minute. These are all done by height, right? And they're like, yeah. I said, what character am I? And they're like, well, you might be a little too short to be Aladdin. I was like, too short. That's the problem with me being Aladdin.
Yeah,
too
that's
short.
the only problem.
That's the only problem.
That's the only reason Anthony Carboni shouldn't be Aladdin.
That's the only reason. Back then, that's the only reason they cared about.
okay.
Pre-live action Aladdin? Aladdin was, whew. But yeah, I think they told me like all the characters I would be would just be no face characters. It would all be costume characters. And I was like, absolutely not.
No, I don't imagine that that's
and
very
I
fun.
walked away.
Yeah. People are debating my height in it because Britt JK says Winnie the Pooh is only up to 5'2". I'll have you know, I'm too tall to be Winnie the Pooh. I'm 5'3".
Oh,
But
so
the minimum for princesses is usually 5'5".
Yeah. So you can't be anybody.
But
you're
I'd
in a
like
weird
to
you're in a
think-
weird liminal space
Well-
between Pooh and princess.
Well, I think there are little guy princesses now that there weren't when I was like 18. But I don't think any of them would be appropriate for me to play. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I'm not an Elsa or an Anna.
you could be a Vanellope.
I'd take a Vanellope.
You could be the first Jewish Disney princess.
I'd take a Vanellope.
Yeah.
I'd fuck with a Vanellope.
Although Vanellope
But-
is not a face character. Vanellope wears a Vanellope head.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I would like to think that when you describe the half Ariel, that's like, you know, with the tail,
Yeah.
that I'm standing at full height and the tail begins at my feet.
Oh no,
Like I'm two mermaids in a trench coat.
No, I was thinking you could be the tail, and then the woman who plays Ariel would sit on your shoulders.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I love that.
No, I think I've told you this story before. My friend was Ariel, but it was Ariel at Ariel's grotto. So it wasn't a walking around like
Yeah.
in her dress Ariel. It was the half, the top half of her is a human, and then the bottom half is an animatronic tail.
Yeah, so you have to like slip
So
into it.
Yeah, you sit inside and up into like
One more time?
Yeah, you go up into
Okay.
at about $10 an inch. You go about up into this rock, and it makes you look like you're Ariel. And she said it was just an absolute nightmare. They don't do that one anymore, really.
Okay. All right.
Because the character's trapped. Character's trapped.
Interesting. People are speculating on Alex's height.
7'3".
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah, Alex is a svelte 7'3",
Yeah.
if anybody's wondering.
A Tinder 6 foot. Oh, that's
Wow.
funny.
Wow.
Canceling you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what we got going on today.
Shall we?
We got some fun stuff for you. I mean, obviously, happy Final Fantasy Day to all who celebrate. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. We're going to be talking about
IGN voting to unionize.
IGN voting to unionize, which is huge. We got some movie news, including Evil Dead stuff, and a bunch of other fun things
We got
for you.
another teaser for Avatar: The Last Airbender.
At this point, they're no longer teasing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At this point, the burlesque is over.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no more tease to be done.
No, it's over. You take your bow and walk off stage.
What day is it?
This thing is a little over 2 weeks away, February 22nd.
Yeah, it's the 7th right now.
Yeah, so
That many days.
a little over 2 weeks away. If you're excited for Avatar, you're excited for Avatar. I think this is just to combat the thing of when shows come out on streaming, you're always like, oh, I got to remember to watch Avatar when it
Yeah,
comes
they're
out.
just keeping it on your brain.
Yeah, because otherwise people forget and they're like, oh, Avatar came out a month ago and I didn't watch it?
Yeah. All right.
You know, it's not for people like literally everyone in this studio who on February 22nd is going to watch Avatar the moment they can.
Yeah. Hey, Alex, will you check what day of the week Avatar Day is? The 22nd? Because we got to find out. None of us are probably showing up to work.
It's a
that's a
Thursday.
It's a Thursday. Okay. Well, hopefully I'm done by Friday. And hopefully that means I can come to work.
I think they're doing it one a week.
I'm gonna
No,
watch a
it's
lot
all
of
at
times.
once, I think.
It's
It
gonna be
was all at once.
It's an all at once drop.
It is an all at once drop. We talked about it. You know what? I think we talked about it on the week that Anthony was out when we did the trailer reveal. So
all
it's
at once
all at once,
drop?
which was actually pretty disappointing to me. As much as I want to like binge it because I'm so excited about it.
I love
I've
that for
been-
me.
Yeah,
I love that for us. I hate that for the show.
I know. Yeah.
Because normally if a streamer drops all episodes at once, it sort of means it's not the highest priority for them. And it also means they're not trying to keep that hype cycle going.
Yes and no. I don't know. I feel like it's been kind of random with Netflix. I'm sure there is something behind it, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
I've been preferring a week to week drop actually.
Me too. I don't like the binging because of the stress of keeping up with a show.
Yeah.
And then nobody can talk about the show.
Yeah, exactly. So I end up delaying watching it. It becomes less of a priority to me because it's all there. And I don't get that. Like, I love the cultural experience of sharing the, like, we're all doing one thing right now and we are all caught up to a certain point, and not the, like, I have to have finished an entire, 8 episodes to have a conversation with somebody. Or we're all doing the, like, oh okay, you're halfway. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, the most conversations about shows now are, hey, are you watching this show? Yeah, I am. How far in are you? I'm 5 episodes in. Oh, I'm only 2 episodes in. Oh, great. Let's never discuss this show together.
Sucks. I want a week-to-week discussion.
Let's never, ever do it.
I want it.
But this is coming on the 22nd. They released this new teaser where we hear more. I think previously, the only speaking we had heard was Sokka's one line, which is also in this teaser.
We had heard like a voice line here or there from a couple of people, actually.
Yeah.
We had heard everyone on the main cast say something, but not enough to be like, oh, we're hearing them act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this teaser was definitely different. And also, I feel like their lines were mostly done as VO over unrelated B-roll.
Yeah.
Here we get to see the children talk to each other.
I mean, since we're in it, let's just watch it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do the thing. I am pulling it up right now. We can watch it on my screen, Alex. And it's a 51-second teaser, and we do want audio. Thank you. All right, let's do this. We get to see a little more of the Water Tribe.
I'm Aang.
Yeah, you are.
He may seem like just a boy,
They've been good about
but
putting
he's
captions on
much
all
more.
these.
Yeah.
They baked them in. Twitter is bad about it.
He is the Avatar.
Twitter is bad about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen to them.
We have a duty to protect the Avatar.
I love it.
You don't have to do this alone. You have me, Katara, and a flying ball.
Literally, Sokka walked out of the cartoon, dog.
We were talking about this a little bit before the show. I want to know if that guy is doing a Sokka voice
Yeah, or if that's just what he sounds like.
or if that's what he sounds like, because he is doing a perfect Sokka.
Like, truly.
And if that's just what he sounds like,
Then they found the Sokka.
yeah, he
In the
is
real
the
world.
real life
Yeah.
chosen one. Like, they found him.
Yeah.
Into every generation, a Sokka is born.
Yeah.
But if he's just doing a Sokka voice too, I also respect the hell out of that because he's doing a good one. It doesn't sound like he's doing an impression.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
It looks really good.
The only person who sounds particularly different is going to be Katara. And we talked about this when we did like the full trailer breakdown, but like Katara sounds like a grown ass woman in the show and is played obviously by a grown woman. And
Yeah.
they didn't do anything to like kind of make her sound more childish.
Yeah.
And now she's a child, like she should be. She's a teenager. But I think she sounds great. I think that Aang, like, I mean, all of the shots of like Aang laughing are so sweet.
Yes.
And it's so Aang. It's so perfect for like this perfectly precious little boy from the show.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So adorable.
They've clearly been spending the last few weeks finishing up those VFX. I
Yeah.
think that's another reason why we're getting more teasers. Is they've been very careful around particularly creature shots, sort of the actual bending shots. They've been careful about.
Yeah.
But man, starting off with that full-on shot of Katara water bending,
Yeah.
and it looks so good, and Momo looks so good.
Yeah.
And Appa looks so
good. Everyone looks fabulous.
and so those VFX have really come to Aang on his
the VFX
glider.
look really good.
Aang gliding on that.
Yeah. Looks
So
great.
good.
There's a couple of things I want to acknowledge from the chat. One was Almec said, I don't know, I think the actor playing Sokka's line delivery was a bit flat. I think he delivered exactly like Sokka delivers all of his lines. Compare it, watch a clip from Avatar of Sokka delivering a line in the animated series. That is exactly how he delivers lines. And then C. Dandino was talking about the actor who plays Sokka. I would like to give a reminder that there was an update to that story. Because
Yes.
every time we bring up Avatar, everybody wants to be like, the problem is the controversy surrounding this actor.
Nope.
Everybody only read the first headline, and this is a problem with the internet and media literacy, is everybody reads the first headline and nobody reads the update, which was, initially, he was accused of not actually being indigenous,
Right.
okay? So, instead, what they discovered is that his tribe was not federally recognized.
And there are a lot of reasons why a tribe would not be federally recognized.
Yes.
Sometimes it is the tribe's decision. Sometimes it is the government being horrible to a tribe.
Yeah.
And trying to keep the tribe from getting the meager benefits that a tribe gets under government protection.
Correct.
And sometimes a tribe does not want to be recognized because a tribe does not want to feel basically sort of like second-class citizens or imprisoned on their own land.
Correct. So there's a lot of reasons, and I don't know, neither of us know the background of why the tribe is not recognized formally by the colonized government. But the headline that kept going around is that he lied about being indigenous, which is really fucked up. And unfortunately is like kind of potentially ruining this kid's life.
Yeah.
And like we have to stop ruining this like young indigenous actor's life because the headlines that went around made it seem like his family and his representation, his like agent or whatever, lied to get him on the show. And that is a very harmful thing to spread if not true. Now, if true, very bad. I agree.
Yeah. But like you're saying, it's there has been an update.
Yeah.
We do know that isn't true.
So like we got to stop telling people these things about this kid that is just not true.
I think whenever you hear about a controversy with someone and they pop back up in the news again, it's always good to just do a little detective work and be like, not rely on I heard this thing or I remember this thing happening.
Yeah.
Check for the update.
Yeah. Just check for the update.
Always good to do that.
Yeah. That's it.
But this trailer looks amazing. I'm very excited. We are just a little over 2 weeks away from
I'm counting down the
live
days,
action
baby.
Avatar.
I'm counting down the days. Do you want to get to bigger news or do you want to stay in a little bit of a piece of a live action thing? Because I'd like to propose this. It's not a big piece of news, but I'd like to propose it to the BBs while we're talking about animated adaptations really quick.
Okay.
Listen, Butch Hartman, the creator of many of the animated shows of my childhood.
Now, if you'd like to look up somebody who's problematic,
yes,
in many, many ways, don't worry. Everything bad about Butch Hartman is still true.
That is true. However, Danny Phantom
Yes.
is probably the reason most of us are bi. And I stand by that.
I think every year there is something where if you are queer, there is a piece of media you can point to that will tell people your age.
To every generation, a bisexual awakening is born.
That's right.
And to mine, it was Danny Phantom. And Butch Hartman, who is garbage, fan casts Tom Holland for a live action Danny Phantom. It doesn't exist. But he was asked who should play if they were to do a live action Danny Phantom.
Also, Tom Holland almost 15 to 20 years too old to be Danny Phantom.
15 to 20?
Isn't Danny Phantom like 14?
How old do you think that Tom Holland is?
He's like 27, 28 at this point.
So if he was 20 years too old, that would mean Danny Phantom
I said 15 to 20 because I don't know the age that Danny Phantom is.
He's 27.
I know Danny Phantom is somewhere between 12 and 15
so
or 12 and
Danny
16.
Phantom is 14.
Yeah.
I would rather Danny Phantom be played by an adult
Yeah.
so that we can all be like, oh my God, Tom Holland as Danny Phantom, you know? Because he's not,
But he's
a
still,
grown man.
Yeah, but he's still playing a child. I don't know. And also,
but this is a fan casting. So everybody fan casts Tom Holland in everything.
Sure.
Everybody's like, it's got a guy.
yeah.
It should be Tom Holland. I don't know. And I agree. We should stop pushing him onto everything. However, he'd make a very good Danny Phantom.
Sure. I think so.
This is a fan casting I actually like for Tom Holland. And every time we bring up a fan casting for Tom Holland on the show, we're all like, come on. No. I like this one.
I think he's just way too old. I think he's just although I do believe that we should go back.
Give me an adult Danny Phantom.
I do believe that we should go back to the classic days of 30-year-olds playing 15-year-olds.
I really do, because I don't think that child actors should exist.
I don't think child actors should exist. I think a lot of child actors are, in addition to all of the pressures and the horrible things around it, just when you see them on screen sometimes, you're just like, oh, in a couple of years, you're going to be a good actor. But
Sure.
unfortunately, throughout the entire run of this show, you're going to be a bad actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think
and also
we could get an
appearances
older.
don't change.
Yeah. And also we don't child labor then. But I think we should get an adult Danny Phantom. We've had the origin story. I think we should get an adult Danny Phantom, and I love it as Tom Holland. I love it. I'm into it. I'm here for it.
I'd like to see.
He's a phantom.
There's something in my brain that tells me I would like to see like a Danny Phantom, Ben 10 as adults, as buddies.
Yeah,
You know,
I could see it.
I'd like that.
I didn't watch Ben 10.
I wasn't a Ben 10. I
I
don't
wasn't
know
a
much
Ben 10
about it.
kid.
He turns into monstras,
Yeah.
and then but he's not really a monstra. He's a kid named Ben. That's the show.
Now, this is a very specific fan casting from the chat here. So Dill Schmilt said Tom Holland as Danny Phantom and Robert Pattinson as older, hotter Danny Phantom from that one special.
So I'm sorry. In this live action timeline, we're not just flashing forward to an adult Danny Phantom.
Yeah.
That adult Danny Phantom still has the flash forward
Yeah.
that
Older,
the younger Danny Phantom
hotter
had. Yeah.
Danny Phantom.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you.
They both still exist.
Excellent suggestion. Come on, are you kidding me?
I love that.
That's a great idea. I love it. Alex, you a Ben 10 fan?
Yeah, I really was. There's all these like young animated teen guy characters that I was weirdly into for some reason.
For some reason.
some
Who
reason.
could ever place what it was?
I don't know. There's
you
just
had to-
something
if we
about
could
an
pinpoint
animated
it.
guy
Yeah.
that
If we
feels
look at this,
approachable.
I feel like if we cut between my screen and back to Alex, and then we cut
Yeah.
between my screen and back to Alex, we can all go, what is it?
Hey, Alex.
You should cosplay Ben 10.
If you could clone yourself and then kiss your clone, would you?
I think I would shake his hand.
If you had a time machine, would you make out with your past or future self? I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at this.
Well-
Ben 10, and I'm wondering what your answers to these questions would be.
I'm sure the audience really wants to know, but I'm going to say that I think young Alex could use a hug from
That's fair.
from a
That's
man
so fair.
But we're
wearing
only
eyeliner.
No. We're only
only flashing
flashing forward.
Oh, flashing forward.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't know if I want to say I'm a pretty good kisser, so I feel like
All right.
it'd be nice to like,
Sure.
you know,
I think you have.
What if you kiss yourself and you find out you don't think you are?
that.
Whoa.
I
You
don't
don't
believe
know.
it. I don't believe it. I've got the
Whoa.
reviews have been good, so
I think that you look more, and I guess they look very similar because all of these animated leads from around this time look very similar.
Yeah.
But I think that you look more like Peter Parker from the first episode of the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon before he loses his glasses and gets his spider powers.
that is actually
incredibly
really nice.
niche.
Peter Parker is not like Peter Parker, Danny Phantom. I feel like these really appeal to me as characters that I believe are trans and
Yeah.
have this like goofiness to them or good personality in the way that they're written, where they're funny.
Check out
guys.
check out Saige's screen right now.
Yeah,
What do you think? This you?
That's Peter Parker from Spectacular
Hey, this you?
Spider-Man.
yeah, that could be me.
Check him out. He's wearing cool pants. That's how you know it's Alex.
I'm going to say Alex is more fashionable than Spectacular Spider-Man.
Well, that's like a 2010.
Yeah.
that's just what
Right.
everybody looked like.
Okay, but look at the
unfortunately.
layered shirt.
okay. Yeah.
He is layering. He's got a crossbody bag. He's got the good pants.
Yeah. Oh God. I'm clicking through to things and I don't want to. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I think so. I think that you should have a costume of all of these characters, but I think a Ben 10 one in particular would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
I think
I have wanted to get a Spider-Man suit for a cosplay. So
I can get you a hookup.
yeah,
Yeah, I have a really
Anthony's
good,
got a guy.
I have a really good
Okay.
Spider-Man suit. I have a couple
I'm
Spider-Man
really
suits.
into that. Yeah, I'd love that. There's
Actually-
a lot of reasons that I want to have reasons to like get buff, and I feel like doing a good Spider-Man
Yeah.
cosplay suit thing would be a great reason for
I
that.
would probably I could probably give you one of my Spider-Man suits from when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because they don't fit me the same way anymore.
Yeah, sure.
I'm now a Peter B. Parker.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, listen, there's a lot of appeal to a Peter B. Parker.
No,
There is.
it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something from a cosplay perspective, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Oh, I love cosplaying Peter B more than I loved cosplaying like classic Spider-Man.
Well, and as like an adult woman, most of us prefer Peter B. Parker.
That's fair. That's
You know?
fair.
That's the aging of it all. I'm not going to tangent too hard on this, but I am rewatching the entirety of Prison Break right now.
Sure, as
And
you
for
usually
those-
are.
Yeah, and for those who, it's still a really good show, Anthony.
That's what I know.
Still a really good show. For those who like grew up watching this strange Fox television show. You grow up as a teenager, you love Michael, the main character, handsome, brooding, tattooed. And then you become an adult that's like, oh, he's a little frightening. And you love the dummy.
You move from Captain Cold to
Not to Heat Wave. You
Not
move
to
over
Heat
to
Wave.
you move over to Sucre, Fernando Sucre.
okay.
And he's just a sweet, sweet dummy in a tank top.
Well, there you go.
That's truly the evolution of hanging on to my attraction to men.
Hey, speaking of sweet dummies in a tank top, Cloud Strife.
Woo!
The trailer for not just the trailer, but the PlayStation State of Play for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was released yesterday, along with a lot of new news about this Final Fantasy game. And I got to tell you, even as somebody who's not a fan of Final Fantasy, I believe that they showed off just way too many spoilies in this State of Play. The new trailer was very spoiler heavy, which you think wouldn't be a problem because it's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
It's a game from 1997.
Right.
Except we know that the timeline has heavily diverged from the original game. They're doing a lot of new and different things with it.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you this, if you're a big Final Fantasy fan, I would say don't watch it.
So I have not played Final Fantasy, and I'm not super familiar with Final Fantasy VII. So upon watching it, I couldn't tell you. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you what's new and what's from the trailer and what's a spoiler and what's not.
Yeah, you know, I've never been a huge Final Fantasy guy. The two Final Fantasy games I like are some of the most disliked Final Fantasy games in the history of time.
Yeah.
Which tells you that I don't know what people who like this series want, or I at least don't want the same things that they do. But I can tell you that there are a lot of new and interesting things that are going on in this Final Fantasy. This has turned into its own, I mean, it's going to be a trilogy of games. This one is going to have 40 hours of gameplay in and of itself.
Yeah.
For me, it's too much.
Yeah.
Even going back, because I would want to, if I wanted to play these games, I would want to go back and play the original. Because the original has a totally different plot, right?
Yeah.
It would be like watching, you know, it would be like watching any one of those movies or TV shows where it's like, and then they do it again in a different timeline. And you're like, well, I didn't watch the first timeline.
But
I don't know
if
why
it's
this
a
is
totally
clever.
different plot. It's not like you need to know the first one. I guess you would know why it's clever, but I don't think that's the goal of it. I don't think that the remake of Final Fantasy is like, look at the clever places that we diverged. They were just like, hey, we made a game and we improved it in places we thought it needed improvement.
But they do
And made new choices.
They get pretty nudge.
Is it pretty meta?
They get fairly meta about certain things, and they do that square thing where they hang on shots that they want you to know have impact, and they hang on shots where the story is different.
Yeah.
So you have time to go, oh my God, that's different. But if I was playing it without knowing, I'd be like, what? Why this guy? Why is he important? I don't care.
Okay.
Why is this guy a big deal? So I would want to go back and play Final Fantasy VII, and then I would want to play this, but that's turning into such an investment. We're looking at
That's too many hours.
It's too many. It's too much on Final Fantasy VII. But they have added a lot of new things to Final Fantasy VII. You have a party level and a skill tree. It's kind of like Final Fantasy X Sphere Grid, which is a bit like a Diablo style grid skill system, which is fun and new for Final Fantasy. If you're a fan of Square music, there are 400 new tracks on the soundtrack. 400. That's a lot of new music. There's like a whole new world map. Everything, you can go to all these they call them interconnected areas. They're still not saying this will not be an open world Final Fantasy. That's not going to be what they're doing as much as people wanted that.
Okay.
It does have new locations that you haven't seen in the original. The thing that really struck me is it has so many mini games. This new one,
Fascinating.
like they're really gunning. It feels like they're going after like a dragon with the number of mini games that there are. Like in the original, there was the Golden Saucer, which is like this little casino, like gambling area where you can do like chocobo races and all that stuff. In addition to the Golden Saucer, there are tons of new mini games that they showed off that they're just throwing in.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a group of devs who are like
Ooh, don't show too much of the trailer, Alex. We don't want to spoily people.
It sounds like a group of devs who were assigned to make a remake.
Yeah.
And then we're like, that's kind of boring.
Well,
Not in a bad way.
Yeah.
They were like, we kind of want to also add things. Like making games is fun. and we want to make a game and not just remake a game.
Yeah.
So it sounds like devs were like, well, can we just add some mini games and then we get to add new things to it? That's fun.
Yeah, well, I think the entire philosophy around it has been that, right? Because all the top level devs are people that have been around almost since that game. If they didn't work on that game, then they've been around since, Final Fantasy X.
Right.
So they really wanted to do something new and interesting with it. And they've done that sort of at every level. And I think the mini games are a level, I don't know. To me, the mini games are just a sign of they're packing way too much game into this game.
So Brennelix has a very good question, which is, do the mini games contribute to that 40 hours of gameplay, or is the 40 the story?
I believe the 40 is going to be main campaign, is what they're saying. It's similar to the original Final Fantasy. You can get through it in a couple days with no sleep and a Mountain Dew, or if you really want to do everything, there are more things for you to do.
Okay.
They've added more to, speaking of the Golden Saucer, they've added more to the date. There's a date night at the Golden Saucer in the original game.
Okay.
And your date depends on things that you do in the game. And it doesn't necessarily tell you. Just sort of show up to the Golden Saucer and your date shows up.
Okay.
And that's how you know whether you did well or not. But this one, they're adding more of a full-fledged dating conversational system to it.
That's cool.
So you can actually see, they have like a little smiley face, like a Tifa like that.
Okay, yeah, like
you know
how
what
you're
I mean?
doing, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're going to have more characters. They say more characters will be available for date night at the Golden Saucer than there were at the original.
Okay,
Which
that's
is
cool.
Which is just, it's got the Final Fantasy fans losing their minds over which waifu they're going to have.
Of course, absolutely. There was a game, and I want somebody to find it. There was I think it was like an indie-ish game at least, where you had to like control overly particular hands on a date.
Yes.
What is the name of that game? Because
I
I wanted
forget.
to play like that. But somebody find me the name of that game. You're controlling overly articulate hands, and you're like, okay, I have to pour the wine.
Yeah, you're trying to be cool on a date. I remember that game.
And it came out just like a few years ago. And you're like trying so hard to like not start a fire and stuff.
I love that.
I wanted to play like that. I think that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it should all be as awkward as possible.
Yeah. I
think-
want to be like trying to reach for like my fork and accidentally like put my finger in the date's nose.
Yeah, I think Cloud Strife is the most awkward and terrible protagonist.
Yeah.
In terms of just personality and everything. They've tried to make him cool in these new ones. Let me tell you, Cloud is lame.
Yeah.
Cloud's a sweet himbo, but he's a lame character.
Almex got it. Table manners.
Table manners, thank you. But he's a terrible character, and I want everything he does to reflect how terrible and awkward and weird he actually is.
Yeah, I don't care about the Cloud.
Yeah. Cloud's not it. If you had been a Final Fantasy person, you would have been a Vincent Valentine person, who is now played by
I want to see if I'm offended. Hold on.
no, you're not offended. He's the half vampire. You're a Vincent Valentine person.
Yeah, all right.
Vincent Valentine was my favorite as well.
Look at his pointy gloves.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's kind of rad.
That's
Oh my God.
Matt Mercer's playing Vincent in the new one.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool pictures of Vincent Valentine are not hard to find because he's
No,
a cool guy.
Cool all the time.
Yeah.
Every photo's cool. That makes sense.
His solo game was terrible,
Oh,
which is a shame.
well.
But yeah, so Final Fantasy VII has got a lot of new stuff, and the demo dropped yesterday.
Yeah.
So you could play it right now, the demo.
Good.
You could. Nobody in this room is probably going to. We're not Final Fantasy people.
We're not.
We're just not.
I'm a Final Fantasy 14 person on occasion.
I like
and that's the only Final Fantasy I've played.
Yeah. I like Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 10 too. Those are my two favorites.
Toxless just said the most hilariously brutal thing, which is Cloud kind of has a Victoria Justice vibe.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. The show is not about him. The show, they can name the show after him. They can tell you that the show is about him. They can give him the most close-ups, but it's not about him.
That's so brutal and so funny.
You got to stop trying to make Cloud happen, Disney Channel.
Yeah.
Your real star is right there,
Yeah.
and it's Vincent Valentine.
It's Liz Gillies.
Liz Gillies rules.
Liz Gillies does does fucking rule. I get so many clips on TikTok of her on whatever podcast. I don't think that it's her podcast, but she's on it all the time with some dude. Fucking hilarious. Damn. Why is she not in and on everything? And why doesn't she own everything?
She does a lot of Broadway now, doesn't she? I thought she was a theater person now.
She's so pretty. I love Liz Gillies. Oh my God. Somebody says I jumped in because of the title. Did I miss that topic already, chat? You sure haven't. Now sounds like a good time as any to talk about IGN voting to unionize. Now seems like a really good time. Well, Anthony just started his Kit Kat, actually.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
You know what? This Kit Kat is delicious and wonderful. You know what else is delicious and wonderful?
Unions. We love unions in this house.
Every time a workforce unionizes, ooh,
Yeah.
Sephiroth gets a wing. The IGN Creators Guild.
Yeah, the IGN Creators Guild is calling on IGN right now to officially recognize them. So this is not something that IGN as a company is doing.
No.
This is something that the workers of IGN are doing and pushing IGN as a company to recognize and help them proceed forward with. So they will be joining, what is the name of that news union that they're joining under?
They are part of the News Guild and the CWA union.
There we go. Yeah. So the News Guild is like a branch of CWA labor union.
So we've seen a lot of this. You know, you might remember when I believe it was Vox was unionizing, they did it under the same union. A lot of video games writers, when you see studios saying that their writers have unionized, have gone sort of under the same union because of political things, really.
Yeah.
Some of the larger writers guilds refuse to acknowledge video games in certain ways, but this is a good one. To be part of the News Guild and the CWA as members of IGN is a big deal. They have a petition out right now. I want to lead with that just so everybody knows. We'll put the link in the Discord and everything later, but it's the IGN Creators Guild petition. They're trying to get, just as many people as possible to say like, hey, we back this.
Yeah, we support this.
IGN has an audience of millions and millions.
So they're speaking a lot on Twitter. That is at IGN Union. The bio on their Twitter is, it's dangerous to go alone, so we're taking our union. Now, this definitely, I think there's a lot of insight into how unionizing goes, which gives you a lot of insight into how a company is run. So IGN has a very small window to make a good choice.
Yes.
Because already, if you look at the verbiage of the posts from the workers on this union account, you can tell that it's not coming from a place of things are great and unions are great.
No.
So like, let's just also union, because that can also happen. Unions are not always a response to negative working conditions.
No,
But
it's just having protections in place and having the ability
Absolutely.
to collectively bargain.
But some of these posts do imply that maybe they are doing this in response to a particular need for collective bargaining with IGN.
Listen, I'm not speaking on anybody's behalf. This does not come from anybody in particular, but I've known a lot of people that have worked for IGN at a lot of different eras over a lot of different years. It's not a great place.
Yep.
They do not treat their people particularly well. They do not, the amount of money and benefits that people get is not commensurate with the
Industry
amount,
standards.
not just the industry standards, but especially the amount of views, clicks, influence IGN gets, and in particular, the extra stresses and outside of work stresses that people have to deal with by being visible on a large platform. They don't protect their people in that way.
Yeah.
If you have to write the review that's going to make everybody mad, IGN doesn't do a lot to protect you.
No.
They don't put a lot of that in place.
No, definitely not.
And they don't even really acknowledge it as much as they should. And so I think this is I think unions are good for everyone. If you're asking why does IGN have a union or why do people need unions, that you're probably somebody who needs a union.
That's true. Yeah.
I love this for everyone, but I love this in particular for IGN because for something that is so synonymous with video games journalism, I mean, it's still the biggest outlet to this day.
It is, and they have a huge opportunity here too that I think that they recognize very well, that if IGN does it, others can follow suit. IGN is the only publication most likely large enough to lead this charge for other video game reviewers, hosts, writers, things of the sort. They're not working on video games, but on media coverage of games and pop culture in general too, because IGN is not only a huge source for video games.
No.
It's a huge source in general for television and movies, like social media, everything.
Yeah.
It is a massive pop culture platform.
They're at every premiere. They're covering every show that comes out. They cover every comic. But if it's pop culture, they cover it, and they have such a huge staff that works incredibly long hours.
Yeah.
The amount of time it takes to review a video game. I mean, I know this sounds like the world's smallest violin because reviewing video games for a living sounds dope. Every job is dope until you have to work it for 90 hours during crunch.
Yeah.
I remember the first time when I was a kid hearing about the person that gets to taste the ice cream at the ice cream factory. I was like, how do I get that job? I want to be the quality assurance person at the ice cream factory. No, you don't. No, you don't. What a miserable job. What a miserable job. They're just like, yeah, I have half a spoon of each thing because by the end of the day, no matter how little I eat, I'm just nauseous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that there's an interesting discourse that's actually happening a lot on TikTok right now, because there was a video that went viral of a woman talking about how hard it is to be an influencer, right? And she got torn to shreds immediately. And there's been a lot of different takes on it on the internet. You've got creators responding and being like, hey, this wasn't said well, but like people don't recognize that it is a difficult job and that it has just different difficulties than your job. And then there were other creators being like, hey, I do have to acknowledge that like I would take this over any job because it is a fucking sweet job.
You can acknowledge privileges and hardships at the same time.
Exactly. There's a lot of nuance to it. But when I see the people who are just either like, well, you don't get to complain, or the creators that are like, okay, well, but this is the best job, so like we can't complain, it is a dangerous thing for people that want to then get into your job to perpetuate the idea that it is such a good job, you can't say anything bad about it.
And, that's why we are where we are, because everybody wants to be a video game reviewer, right? Everybody wants to be somebody who hosts things on YouTube or TV or whatever. And because everybody wants your job, they're just like, that's where the idea of like, we could fire you and have you replaced in a minute. That's where that comes from.
Yeah. And that gives the companies a whole lot of power in that. So yeah, I mean, I like, even as just our ancillary, like as a full-time creator, will acknowledge that like, it's a fucking sweet job.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for this job and it's very special. And also 98% of the job is not the thing you see. And that's the case for everyone at IGN.
Yep.
And crunching to finish a video game is not, oh my God, I get to have so much fun playing video games for a living. Like you don't get to enjoy most of the games that you review most of the time.
The biggest struggle that I had when we were starting Rev 3 Games was that the company had they knew that they wanted a video game department.
Yeah.
But they didn't know what that entailed. And people would get mad at me for sitting at my desk and playing a video game. And I was like, well, I have to review this video game. And they're like, yeah, but there's stuff to do at the office. I was like, yes, my thing to do at the office is to review this video game. And they're like, well, why don't you do that at home? I'm like, because you don't pay me to do it at home.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to play 50 hours of this game in 3 days.
Don't need to do it for free.
Yeah, and capture the footage and edit it. And it's like, you can't tell me, a lot of people will say like, oh, but that's something that you would do anyway. You'd be doing it anyway. It's like,
No, I wouldn't be crunching it into 48 hours.
I think I told you.
If I was playing it at all.
I think I told you my ex had a PTSD response to the low heart noise from Zelda because I had to review Skyward Sword. Worst Zelda. I had to review Skyward Sword and I was just trying to like thunder through it. And so I wasn't picking up every little thing. And I was up almost 24 hours a day playing this game, capturing footage, making notes. And she would just be like, mute it or put on headphones. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Because it was just like, minute.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you think I feel? That's the sound of my deadline approaching. Tick tock, tick tock.
Right.
That's literally the Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart telling me every second that's going by before I have to file this review.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like I've worked much harder jobs, I've worked much easier jobs, but every job, and this is something that I hate particularly about American culture, every job deserves fair pay. Every job deserves to be treated like a job.
And at the end of the day, all labor is under coercion because if you don't go to work, you don't get to eat.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good bargaining tool that capitalism has over you. There is no such thing as voluntary labor.
Yeah.
All labor is under coercion if you exist in capitalism where it takes money to survive and eat.
I think anytime you see people, we've been so brainwashed, anytime you see people underneath an announcement like this, whether it's during the actors strike or during this unionizing or video game developers unionizing, and people are like, UPS drivers, and people are like, why do they need a union and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I've been working 70 hours a week my whole life. And
You should also get in a union. We would love that for you.
Hey,
you shouldn't either.
We're a couple hundred years out from our Protestant pilgrim founders.
Yeah.
We can stop associating work with self-worth, and you don't get to brag about how much more horribly you're being treated than somebody else.
Yeah.
That's not a point of honor. That should make you say, oh, maybe we should unionize too.
Oh, shit. That's an option? Okay.
Yeah.
I wish you a very union.
Absolutely. And I hope that IGN passes this through. Somebody in the live studio audience earlier said that a friend of the show, Duck Valentine, Rebecca Valentine, was saying that negotiations seem to be going very well and very smoothly here from the get-go, which
That's
is
cool.
which is good because I do think that there is leadership at IGN that understands that people there need to be treated better. But remember, IGN is part of a corporation that's part of a corporation.
Yep.
And so I think in a lot of these, I don't want to say the corporations are good, but I will say in a lot of these corporations that have these sort of mid-level managers that work directly with their teams,
Yeah.
those people do want to give their people more,
Yeah.
but they can't. And so I think one of the ways, I think a lot of the mid-level managers at places like this get secretly very happy
Yeah.
that the employees are unionizing, even though it's illegal, they can't verbally support a union in a managerial position, even though it's illegal. It's so
Absolutely
fucked.
ridiculous. In some of the things that they're talking about, specifically Rebecca Valentine quoted in this Variety article, just so you know, some of the concerns that they have that led them to unionizing. One is specifically for competitive pay and adequate time off that they feel like they're not currently getting, and they want protections under a union for that, and to protect themselves in the rise of generative AI. We've seen a
So
ton
huge.
of publications using AI articles,
Ugh.
AI generating an article on something, and they want to protect themselves from that. And I think that that's very, very smart. And they're not accusing IGN of doing that, to be clear, but it does make sense in the current climate of things to have something that is like rules in place that you cannot be replaced for an
Yeah.
AI article written. You cannot be expected to churn out more articles by using AI, because that's one of the things that I think is probably going to start being imposed on some writers of being like, okay, well, if you just use ChatGPT or something like it, you could probably knock out way more articles per day.
No, you can tell that IGN's not using AI for their articles yet because of all of the copywriting errors that are in it. Listen, IGN, I love everybody I know that works at IGN, but they do not have enough editorial staff for their
Yeah.
writers. So the way that you can tell is the number of just sheer typos, misspellings, and horrible things that make it into IGN articles.
That's funny.
But at least their facts are right, which is not always true of AI.
Yeah,
AI sometimes likes to make things up just to make you happy.
that's true.
So we wish them a very union. We hope this goes well for them. And hey, if you are thinking to yourself, we could use a union, you should check to see if there is a union that covers your industry or segment of the industry that you're in. You would be shocked how many national union and labor boards there are for different vocations.
And obviously that advice is uniquely American, just because we don't really know the systems in whatever country you might be in, if not America. So that is advice specifically for American laborers. Something that I saw on TikTok recently, and it was like a stitch of a thing from Madeline Pendleton, was that people align themselves as consumers with capitalism and not as laborers with capitalism.
Yes.
So when we go into a store, we do not align ourselves with the workers, even though I can almost guarantee all of you are fellow laborers. We align ourselves as the consumer with those people when we
Yes.
receive the service. And just how much of a difference it might make if people did actually identify themselves as a laborer in
Yeah.
capitalism.
Well, I
And when we
think-
think about capitalism, it's not money and spending and
Yeah.
cost.
Well,
but
I think
also
we do
labor.
that. I think we do that when we walk into places because we are treated so horribly within the system.
Yeah.
When we walk into a place, and this is one of the more insidious things, when you walk into a store, you have the special status.
Yeah.
You don't have special status at work.
Yeah.
You might not, you probably don't have special status at home. You're probably paying a landlord or a bank or whatever. When you walk into a store, you are the customer.
Yeah.
You are the customer, and everybody should treat you well. And if they don't treat you well, what is going on? And don't they know that they should treat you well? And wouldn't they want to be treated well when they walk into a store?
No.
We want to be treated
No.
well at work.
Yeah.
I want to go into a store, get the thing I want, and get out.
You only have to treat me normal.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
The number of things about like the posts that you see from
Yeah.
elder millennials and Gen X and all those people where they like go into I went into a coffee shop and the person did not seem very enthused to be serving me. They're not.
Why would they be?
Fuck you.
Why do they like your coffee? Why do they like you? Were
Did
you
you-
awesome?
Did you get your coffee?
And did you come in and be awesome to the people who work there?
Yeah, were you like, high five, bud?
Yeah.
You're the best.
Did you ask them about their life or pets?
No.
Then get fucked.
Get absolutely fucked.
You don't deserve anything special.
You got your
I
coffee.
see people in our chat talking about, like, as somebody who worked retail, this was from Null Denominator, said, having worked retail, I 100% still channel that part of my life when I walk into a store. So we see this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm somebody who worked retail for like 7 years. So when I go into a retail store, I align myself with those laborers.
Yeah, of
but
course.
I know I can't always in scenarios where I didn't work. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't work in that industry. And I want to be more conscious of that. But you know,
Yeah.
there's always one friend at the table when you go to dinner that was a server.
Yeah.
That's like, I want to make this as easy as possible for the server. That should be all of us and not just the person who worked as a server.
Even if you haven't worked in an industry, you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
that somebody has worked a long day and they are being underpaid.
Yeah.
If you
You've
imagine that much, you're probably going to treat people 100 times better.
Yeah, you've worked.
You know,
That's it.
You don't
Everybody-
Need, you don't need a smile and a happy comment from the kid who rips your ticket at the movie theater.
Nope.
You don't need that.
Everybody be the person at the dinner table who used to work in the restaurant that's like, okay, I'm going to take care of the check. We're going to do this. We're not going to make it difficult on her. I'm going to stack the plates when they're ready to come around.
Can we put this on 17 cards? No, we cannot.
No, we cannot.
No, we cannot because we have Venmo and the restaurant doesn't.
Correct.
Yeah. Just be nice to people. If
Yeah.
you feel like you're not being treated well at work, look into labor laws and whether you can unionize. Look into what you can do. Even things that you can send into your state and federal labor boards here in the United States or in your country. You know, a lot of people just don't know
Yeah.
the things that your employers can't do.
Yeah.
And the things that, hey, if you reported this to a labor board,
Yeah.
your company would get in huge trouble.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's things like, hey, when you clock in, you better clock in and be like 100% rate. No, there have to be reasonable accommodations made. If you have like a uniform and a locker room and a
Yeah.
break room, you have to make reasonable accommodations for the person to come in and get ready for work on the clock. That's part of their
Yeah.
job. You can't ask people to clock out and continue working. You can't ask people to not take overtime. All these things.
When I was a retail worker in cosmetics, there were two things. One is you're expected to wear the brands that you sell, which most of us could not afford to buy. And you're only given like once a year, you get an order that's not enough things.
Yeah.
And you run out of those things. So a lot of the people who worked in the department would come in and be like, okay, well, we have like the extra product in the back. We have to get ready here. And we were told that was time theft.
Get fucked.
That it was time theft because you were then getting ready on the clock. And it's like, you don't pay us enough to own these things.
Yeah. I remember working at a retail store and they were like, you have to, you obviously have to wear our clothes.
Yeah.
Because we sell clothes. And I was like, great. So what do I just pick some things out? And they're like, no, we're going to give you, X amount of dollars in credit. And then we take it out of your first check.
Correct.
And you get you get like a 30 to 40% discount. I was like,
Yep.
no. I was like, you're not getting my entire first paycheck.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No.
This is fucked. It's a lot of these things are illegal. And if you report them, the company gets in trouble. You just need to, and it's not even like, hey, you should report every company. But if you know your rights and your protections as an employee, as a laborer, it will help you out quite a bit.
Recruit a friend. Collective bargaining starts at more than one employee. So that will be very helpful because they can't fire all of you. And I understand the fears of doing it alone. If you're the person that just has to make the report and you don't have anybody, you will probably get fired. Like that's a reality of capitalism too. And like, I get it. Protect your job. You most likely need that paycheck.
Oh, look at the starter of the person who started the Starbucks union.
Yeah.
Who got fired, continued organizing for Starbucks as not an employee.
Yeah.
And once everybody came together enough, the union filed a suit on their behalf.
Yeah.
To get them the back wages they were owed for an illegal firing. Because you are allowed to talk about organization at work.
Cheyenne is trying said, my friend who is literally 8 months pregnant was recently asked by her manager to bring a letter from her doctor saying that she won't be able to move as fast as other associates at Walmart.
Oh yeah, Walmart's particularly bad.
Now,
Walmart will do things where they will subsidize certain programs for their employees to stop them from asking for health insurance. And the programs that they subsidize are horrible.
Yeah. Absolutely wild.
Horrible.
But to need a doctor's note for moving slow because whoever that manager is couldn't go, probably pretty hard to get around right now.
You seem pretty pregnant.
They couldn't do that.
You seem like you might have an entire other human being pushing on your organs right now.
Prove it.
Prove it.
Prove it with a doctor's note.
A doctor's note.
Wild. Absolutely ridiculous. All of the chat. Hey, I love you, BBs. You're so right. We've got a lot of time theft is cool. Do it.
No,
We've
time
got
theft
a lot
is
of,
the best.
Stealing from big corporations isn't stealing. And for legal reasons for our show, that's a joke.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
That's all.
Hey, speaking more about, I don't know.
AI?
Yeah, we could talk more about AI.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about AI.
Let's talk a little bit more about AI.
I want to pose this. This is like a little bit of a conversation I want to have with the BBs. So Roblox is introducing real-time AI chat translation. So they say the next frontier is seamless voice translation, including the tone, rhythm, and emotion of its users' voices. Now, obviously...
Hello, fellow child. I am a child like you. I love to do the Roblox. Do you want to come work unpaid with me at the Roblox?
So obviously this is frightening because it's in Roblox, and Roblox is for children. And I just don't want children talking on the internet.
I too am a child. Don't worry. We are both children. Do you want to come see a Roblox world I made where Peter Griffin makes out with Sonic the Hedgehog? Hey, have you considered being a Roblox developer yourself just for funsies?
If you are considering it, please give me your address. So I think that the feature is interesting. So the chat window will just automatically show languages spoken to your native language that you selected in your Roblox interface. Now that's a kind of cool technology. And a technology that they're integrating AI where I'm like, that would not be a person's job, right? You're not going to have somebody live on Roblox translating.
No,
so like this isn't a...
I want the classic room of UN translators.
Yeah.
But for every youth on the Roblox.
Right, exactly.
And I want them wearing the headsets.
Yeah.
And I want them doing the thing where they quietly, like, they make notes and they talk into the little microphones, like in old movies.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about different uses of AI because I think this is interesting. And like, I don't know. I don't know where I land on it. It being for children, I don't want children to communicate with strangers on the internet. So like children being able to communicate with more strangers on the internet, not good. People being able to communicate with more people is good. And we talk a lot about how like a lack of exposure to different cultures and people in different countries is like incredibly damaging. So you want people exposed to these things and to be able to like experience things because like, especially in America, we're raised to be little drones that don't know anything outside of the American propaganda. And you want to be able to talk to people who live different lived experiences. And that's kind of neat. But I don't want children talking to strangers on the internet, and I'm frightened.
Well, you would imagine that a couple things would be going on here. You would imagine that they would also, and I'm not saying they are or are not doing this, but we know that there are voice chats in games right now that auto filter, auto ban, make sure that certain messages don't get through, and will completely ban people from a game.
Yeah.
We know that there's probably filters like that already in place in Roblox. I don't know because I don't have a child, and I get my Lois Griffin porn elsewhere. So we know that probably exists.
Yeah.
So you'd imagine with the live translation that even puts more of a buffer in between.
Yeah.
So it could actually be a very helpful thing.
It really could.
I do think it's weird anytime people's entire conversations, bless you, particularly the entire conversations of children, are being recorded, translated, saved somewhere.
Yes. They're not being more saved because they're being translated.
No,
they
but-
were being saved anyways. It's Roblox.
Yeah, but I hate it.
I also hate it.
And I hate that it's probably going to be used to train the AI better without the children, like, which is another thing. It's like, can children even consent to that? Weird.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I'm fascinated by the technology. And as somebody who grew up playing MMOs and like these open world like chat and social games, there is a very big divide in me that I know I was exposed to things I should not have been exposed to, and I was hanging out with a bunch of adults on the internet, and one
Sure.
time they roped me into joining a virtual mafia.
Sure.
With a bunch of adults. But two, I'm like, maybe that's kind of a neat use of AI.
I think it's a good use of AI. And I think also the thing is when a technology like this comes into the forefront, when it's like, hey, we're going to translate kids' conversations through AI at Roblox.
Yeah.
What you're emotionally reacting to
Yeah.
is not necessarily the translation via AI of the conversations. You are simply being reminded once again that these kids are talking on the internet without much oversight.
Yeah.
And usually that reaction, your brain attaches it to the thing you're reading about.
Right.
And the thing is, we should be protecting children on the internet more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In every conceivable way. Our concern is Roblox protecting kids enough? We've seen in a lot of cases the answer is no. So the idea of this, I think, just reminds us that there isn't a lot of oversight for these kids.
Yeah. And you wonder, I mean, if they have an AI model, they've probably been training it off of conversations on Roblox for some time, because they do boast that it is specifically context aware and aware of a lot of like Roblox specific slang that kids have developed. Things like OBBY, AFK, or LOL. I don't know what the first one is, but obviously I get the other two. So obviously this has probably been trained off of all of the conversations that happen on Roblox. And I'm sure when you agree to their terms and services, you're probably agreeing to all of the things that I say on this platform.
Sure.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess they are saying it on Roblox. It's not like they're like in your fucking text messages. So I
if
don't
we
know
train-
how I feel about that. I wouldn't personally care on a platform if like all of the words I said on RuneScape had had developed a RuneScape AI, but I'd want to know, I guess.
What if we trained the Roblox AI the way we to understand slang, the way those memes are?
Yeah.
Where it's like where we taught it all the wrong answers for AFK.
Yeah.
Where it's like always for kites.
Yeah.
Is your kid talking about kites online?
Yeah.
Yeah, always for kites. BBL, big, beautiful, luscious kites.
Yeah. A kite is a little secret note or package in prison.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
They're talking about prison. This translates 16 languages in under 100 milliseconds.
I think it's cool.
I think that's kind of neat. I think it's a very interesting technology.
Yeah, people are asking the big question, which is, if this exists, why is it being used for Roblox? It's being used in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But it is very funny that the biggest headline we're seeing about this is a Roblox-related headline. This is wild. I have installed a free piece of software at home that uses an AI language recognition model that just does dictation for me. When I want to like write something, or if I have an audio file that I want dictation for, it just does it. And it's pretty accurate.
Wow.
And it's like totally free. That's one of the things that's really nice about these AI models. There are bad uses for them, but me having the AI model locally installed on my computer that's not going to be retrained by other people or with copywritten stuff.
Yeah.
That just does this function for me. That's a long thing that I hate doing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I think that every once in a while we have to look at like the way that AI could be used to properly criticize the way it is being used. And we have to look at the potential for AI to enhance accessibility and like good things.
Windows 11 has like an auto captioning thing built in to videos. If you've ever watched a YouTube video that's in a foreign language to you, and you've turned on the subtitles for your language, that's being done on the fly.
I mean, we talk about it all the time too. Google Chrome has, it's not a translate, but an auto caption that will caption anything that's in your browser.
Yeah.
I always shout out Skywalker, who's in the live studio audience right now, who for letting us know about this, because anything you're watching, you can turn that on in your browser and it'll caption it for you for a lot of things that are inaccessible.
You can turn it in on Windows now.
Yeah.
It's these things can be very, very good. They already exist. They're already being used in a lot of things that you haven't even thought about that you've probably used before.
Yeah.
But this is a weird headline because it reminds us that children have access to voice chat all the time on the internet.
And I wish they didn't. I really, 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 really wish that just children weren't on the internet.
Hey, Saige.
Yeah?
I am so glad that children sometimes are on the internet, though, because when you post things as a youth on the internet, they exist forever.
That's actually a horrible thing.
Sometimes it can be.
Actually, what you're saying is horrible.
Actually, Saige, let me counterpoint you on this, because there's a very good place on the internet that's called the Blunder Years. And the Blunder Years is where people post their early photos so you can see just how horrible they were as children. I'm on the Blunder Years right now, and the top post of all time is this one here that says, in 2004, I won a contest to DJ at my very small hometown's easy listening radio station. I proceeded to play an hour of Evanescence deep cuts and ruined everyone's commute.
That's so cute. Oh my God, I love it.
Look at that little anarchist.
Dude, I love it.
Look at him.
Hell yeah. Following up me at 17, living it up in Las Vegas. Look at that shirt.
This kid at the time thought they were the coolest, and that adult posting this to the internet is saying, oh, this is who I was.
Now, this one looks a lot like,
is who I was.
You in this same year.
My spikes were never that good.
Yeah.
I would have gone for spikes like that.
Yeah.
I do love this one that was right in front of that. If you want to show my screen, Alex, this is my good friend Josh showing off his size in high school. He says he has no regrets.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. Awesome.
I would not either.
I love this one. So this says, as a 10-year-old male, I was a 30-year-old lesbian.
Oh my God.
Shaved head except for bangs.
And truly, the way they're holding the dog.
Yeah.
This is like this is a post from an animal rescue organization.
Yeah.
I have seen this post.
Right.
It's amazing. Dude,
the MySpace pictures.
Trying to get a MySpace picture with my family's out of the house.
God.
The cape, holding the cape dramatically.
Yeah.
Is so good. Look at those scene parents.
They said 10 years ago on our first family photo, it looked like we stole someone's kid.
Look at those scene parents.
But the baby is just a little blonde dressed like Gerard Way. All proper in his little tie.
The best are the ones where they show, I'm trying to find one where they show what they look like now.
This one's so Because I was like, oh, everyone looks great in this photo. What do they mean? And they said, I won a contest, or no, I won an award at school. I was told to dress up for the photo. I thought they meant like in a costume. So they're the one on the far right of this photo in a cowboy outfit.
I love that. This is like a deep nerd cut, but anybody who's into Buckaroo Banzai, that's like some very Jeff Goldblum and Buckaroo Banzai
Look at the other
vibes.
people in their suits.
I'm trying to see, some of the best ones are the ones where people put
Somebody did their remake.
their like new, like what they look like now.
I mean,
and those are the best.
Here's one where somebody remade the exact photo. And stunningly well. They said they tracked down the original photographer to remake this. So one is in 2003 and one is in 2018. And that dude looks the exact same too.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Dude, what was with school photos and these weird props?
His senior portrait, I think, so here's the thing. For senior portraits, now, mind you, I was a homeschool kid.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure for senior portraits, you can go and get your own taken and submit them.
But, well, no. Depends on the school.
Some schools
It
can
depends
do
on
that.
the school. And the schools that do allow you to go to different studios, they will have like approved studios or things you
Yeah.
can and cannot put in your photos. But the things that I always loved are the school photo companies that would come to school with those sets. Like they would show up with sets like that guy has.
Yeah.
And like 3 or 4 different props. And they'd be like, which one of these weird props do you want on this weird set?
Because my speculation is that this guy was really into balloon animals in high school and that he chose this and he made those.
I hope that's true. I hope that's true.
I think so.
But I love all of these so much. I love just like these little snapshots of like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And just all of the weird stuff. Like, man, what an inexplicably... Are we going to look back on every 10 years and think that they are this bad?
Yeah.
Because I've never looked back on any time period and thought, we looked pretty cool then.
I don't know. It's very interesting, and I'm curious to see how that's going to be for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are dressing like adults of the time. And like people talk a lot, like a lot of millennials talk about how Gen Z has gotten to skip their awkward phase.
Yeah.
Because of like the internet showing them how to look cool for the time. You know, like you're not going into Limited 2 and getting a t-shirt with like a silly little monkey on it and being like, yeah, this is probably pretty legit with your like chanclas. You're like, oh, like I do my makeup like Kylie Jenner does her makeup.
Yeah,
and
but
you're 13.
You're still going to run into...
Yeah.
10 years from now, trends will be different.
They will.
The entire idea of what's
Yeah.
cool will be different. So even if you look like a little adult right now, you're going to look like a little adult from 15 years ago in 15 years.
I'm just curious what that'll be like. We do have an update on the balloon pictures.
Oh,
So
thank you.
OP said some potentially anticipated questions. Why did you take a picture with balloon animals to begin with?
Yep.
I did animal balloons 2 to 4 hours a week at local restaurants in high school for some easy money. When I did a consult for a senior portrait with a photographer, she said, what are some activities that you do during high school or for your job that you're known for? When she said to bring animal balloons to the photo shoot, I honestly didn't think much of it, but in retrospect, holy shit, why?
Yeah.
So he did choose this.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah, I do balloon animals.
This is what I do. This is who I am.
People asked what kind of animals they are in there because they're also a little bit hard to tell. Great. I love it. Really,
Yeah.
I just wanted to know why there were balloon animals. The rest of the questions, are there. But I wanted to know why.
It's amazing. I love all of these. It's a great subreddit to just browse through
I love it.
and just see the time capsule everything, because people post from all different time periods.
Yeah.
Like some people post things from this is me in the 60s and 70s, or this is me, like here's one that's like a real progression, 95 to 05 to 15
let's see
to
it.
23. So here's 95 and
Okay.
that's definitely 95.
Yeah, the haircut.
Yeah. 05.
Okay.
All right. That doesn't tell us anything,
No.
unfortunately, but what are you going to do?
Oh.
15. Yep.
That's a big change.
Out of the military.
Yeah.
And 23.
Wow. Yeah,
then-
that all makes sense.
This all makes sense. So if we go from here, and then reminder, this is where
that
we
makes
started.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me.
It's amazing.
I know that we're coming up on time here.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about one last thing.
Sure.
just because it's a game I've really been anticipating.
Okay.
Paralives, which is supposed to be this like incredibly in-depth life sim that's supposed to like eat the Sims lunch.
Yeah, this is the one that we showed that has showed off like a couple vertical slices. The first one was a beautiful home builder that showed off all the things that the Sims home builders can't do. Things like angles, things like mixed decor really well.
So good.
Light sources, all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Currently, they have a release window. So they're now saying it is a 2025 release window. And they don't have a date in 2025, but they did a full dev update on it. It's 7 minutes long. It's available now. They showed a little bit more of the game. And I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks good.
It looks pretty cool.
If you're into The Sims and you are a bit disappointed by how slowly The Sims has been evolving, this really feels like
a
the
Sims
thing
fan.
for you.
Yeah, a Sims fan made an evolution of The Sims. They went into character creators and showed some cool stuff. They showed some stuff at like the jobs. I just think it looked really neat, and I wanted to shout that out because it will no longer be relevant by Friday. But it's a big release window, but it's a release window. This game is, in theory, coming out next year.
That's great.
And it's just like, it's really fucking complex. Like, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
The way your skills develop and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks like it's doing everything that people have been missing from The Sims.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that we now know when it's coming. That's going to be huge. Hey, BBs. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for spending your morning with us. Of course, we do the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And you can also catch it later. You can catch it on the VODs. You can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on Spotify or the Patreon if you don't have Spotify and you want to listen to the audio version.
That's right. We really appreciate it if you check those other things out, particularly the YouTube right now. We love it if you leave comments, if you thumbs up, if you sub. That stuff is really, really great. The YouTube channel is starting to grow, and we would really love to keep that momentum going.
It's been very nice. We appreciate everybody who's doing so. It's very cool. We recognize it, we see it, and it's helping, and it's awesome.
That's right. Of course, there are other things that you can do. You just coming here and showing up is great.
Yeah.
We love it when you tweet about the show or share it on social. Let people know that you're watching. We also really love when you show up in the Discord and leave stories or just hang out and chat because it's a wonderful little community.
We also love when you go to patreon.com/Pixel Circus, because I didn't actually say the URL where you get a bonus clip from It's Too Early every week. We got so much extra stuff in here. So Friday, there's a million things to talk about. Generally, we look back through our run of shows and be like, what didn't we get a little chance to talk about?
Yeah.
Or we just do something a little weird.
We like to do things a little bit different. Thank you so much. Saige, when you're not here, where are you?
I am officially back to streaming on my channel at twitch.tv/notsage. I am at notsage everywhere else. I revealed my new little stream room, and it's so cute.
Oh, how wonderful.
Because I moved and I hadn't streamed in like 3 weeks. So I'm back, and I will be live tonight.
Are you in a position where your stream room is totally set up and the rest of your house is a box-filled nightmare?
Yes.
Wonderful. We love that.
What about you, Anthony?
My whole life is a nightmare, but you can find me on the internet at Carboni or on Twitch at Anthony Carboni. Remember, Twitch is not the internet. That's why my name is different there. Alex.
Hello.
Hello.
You
What are
can
you doing?
find me on the internet, on Twitter, even though it's dying, at Alder_Mancy. But why not go over to Blue Sky and follow me over there? I'm aldermancy.bluesky. And that's a pretty cool place to be, apparently.
Yeah, y'all, are we blue skying?
I mean, it opened up.
Apparently
Blue Sky?
It
so.
opened up. People are.
Everyone
I'm
can
on
do it.
Are you going to blue sky?
I don't know. I'm just hedging my bets like everyone else.
I've got it. I'm going to suss out and see if people are blue skying.
Yeah, we'll see what it's about.
But yeah, it is open to all now. That was one of the things we didn't get to talk about today.
I don't want to post to 18 different things though and wait for one of them to take off. Y'all tell me which one's the one.
I know. But then you had the chance to be an early adopter, Anthony.
I know I could have been a blue sky trailblazer.
Could have been. Could still be.
My life would be totally different now.